It's November 4th, 2022. I was watching the news upstairs, and my grandparents, who are now deceased, my grandfather painted this by hand on the door, along with this and this. I don't know what these things are. Again, I come from a family where there's some kind of cryptic, I don't know what, hidden in the messaging of his artwork, as most art like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo. My grandfather hid inside. Those are the only two names I've ever heard of in this area that has like that mention of hidden symbology and patterns inside of artwork upstairs. So, and there's nobody to explain what this is or where it's used. It's not something in this North American house. My father doesn't use any of these celebratory for celebration. They are not in family holiday. It's like the culture part's been removed. I don't know why, but there's remnants of it, almost like a hieroglyph or a petroglyph almost, but etched in with paint into the, it's not stained glass, but it's painted. And there's nobody for me, like no local historian, and I don't know where the origins of that specific celebration is. But tonight I was looking on the news and they had something almost looked like the top one looked almost like a light. So the pattern that I was born within looks like this, where that doorway has these paints my grandfather did by hand, which I don't know. In reflection, he's no longer around. He's been deceased since 1996. I don't know, and I don't have like an elder or a wise person to ask these things to. I ask Linda and Lou, but they don't know. It's just whatever he painted. Like, there's no answers. It's just the shrug off. So tonight, they have this, there's this FBI warning about synagogues, which again, I don't attend, I don't know. But in their stained glass, they have this light candle, almost, it's slightly different than what my grandfather painted. But it was around the same shape. So it just sparked something interesting. And now I've been going to something called Zion Episcopal Church weekly. And they're, the name on this particular synagogue that they're mentioning, they've hidden the Z and they just ION and EO. So I found that interesting as things that they're mentioning on the news with symbols. It's Friday, November 4th, 2022.
The security everywhere is still very high. Now let's turn to the weather. Amazing.
Where'd it go? Oh. This was the symbol. Again, I don't know what this is. I don't have teachers that go into the level of, I don't even know what the study of that is called, because the study here, there was no studies here. So I think the Catholics call it theology, maybe, is the closest word that I have as a construct of semblance of a reality. But I don't know cross faith if that's the word that the humans use. I don't know, when you're curious about shapes and about symbols and things. I don't know symbology, like what the study of that is called. Again, there's been very little access to mentors or guidance even. So this is the thing where they flash up this ion
to add security, but in the end, the FBI determined that the man, while
they said something. I'm trying to figure out what this new word is, anti-Semitic. Again, it's not used where I am. I don't know what they mean by it. I don't know if it's a campaign word. I don't know if campaign even is a Spanish word now because of the association they put on the news the other night. These things were not taught in elementary. They weren't taught in middle school. They weren't taught in high school. They weren't taught in whatever level of college or university I went to. It's very confusing. Like, there was no career path. And they're practicing the sociology experiment, but there was no track for employment or for future integration. All one needs is a couple of classes and to know what the do's and don'ts are. They weren't even willing to provide that, which is confusing. And by they, it's a pronoun in the great wide world of things. I don't know. Somebody gave me a letter and said it was God. There was some very poignant meetings when I was younger. Then there was the knockout thing. They call it Twilight now. Somebody that I ran into said, or at least he said something that seemed to have a fit into the construct of some situation I was put into. Then there's this with this Nets, Brooklyn, Kyrie's apology. I don't know how to read this situation.
Well, the Brooklyn Nets will take on the Washington Wizards tonight without their controversial star player, Kyrie Irving, who remains suspended without pay. Late last night, Irving finally posted an apology on Instagram more than a week after he tweeted a link to an anti-Semitic movie. In his apology, he wrote in part, "To all Jewish families and communities that are hurt and affected from my post, I am deeply sorry to have caused you pain, and I apologize."
Now, this is my question. Was there a warning label on the movie that said you are a warning label, like you are about to watch an anti-Semitic movie? I'm confused. How does one know what's going to be socially reprehensible and harmful? And is there warning labels on these things? If these giant conglomerate social elite groups have these party guidelines and these state university integration with these nations that they're now doing business with, how does one get protected how does one even find their own nation at this point? I was born American. I was born North American. I don't know where America went. I was here the whole time. It seems like they partied themselves and grew themselves some new problems, and there's no information network.
Apology came after the Nets suspended him for at least 5 games. Today, Irving's teammates Kevin Durant called the whole situation unfortunate.
I ain't here to judge nobody or talk down to nobody how they feel or anything. I just didn't like anything that went on. I feel like it was all unnecessary. I felt like we could have just kept playing basketball and kept quiet as an organization. I just don't like none of that.
Kept quiet as an organization. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says he plans to meet with Irving in person sometime next week.
Mourners gathered for a final goodbye.
I don't understand what the big push is behind it. If it's a supportive movement, is it just further dividing things? Is it a set up assist for something else? I'm really frightened about what I see going on in the local neighborhood, and then signs like this from beyond my reach. Like, I mean, they're living at such a high standard of ability and networking, and it's just, it's really frightening. And not just Kyrie Irving, but all sorts of complex issues and complexions. I mean, I just happen to be one of an ocean full of different types of fish. I get that. I just have a very specific issue with what menu and diet I wanted to take part in and could call a family, and then that being withheld from my ability to reach or even identify with. It's really frightening. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.